If you had a choice between buying 10 books or 1,000 books, having your child read 10 good books or 1,000 schlocky books, just ordinary stuff that's probably not going to last for more than a single printing, which would you choose? Would you want to go with the 10 or the 1,000? I think the answer needs to be that we need to really focus on quality versus quantity. Be sure that our children get the best stuff and they go over it again and again and again and again. That will produce a much better education.
So Josh, as we put this program together here, I think the idea was to try and find some of the very best that was written, to find the great Christian teachers. Walk us through Volume 1, Volume 2, the Great Christian Classics. What's going on in here, and how did we pick, and how did we get to these particular teachers as being the ones for our students?
Yeah, so the first volume here, we really cover great narratives, great autobiographies from people in church history. We begin with Augustine, his Confessions, a massive, great spiritual autobiography from the early church. We have Patrick, Confessions, Patrick who evangelized the Irish in the 5th century. And then we move on to John Knox. We have his History of the Reformation in Scotland, some of the most fascinating encounters during that period of history. Then we move on to John Bunyan, his Grace Abounding to the Chief of Sinners, where Bunyan describes his conversion and his trials and struggles as he came to the faith. And then it ends with John Paton's autobiography. John Paton went and took the faith to the New Hebrides, islands in the Pacific, one of the first missionaries to do so, and underwent incredible, immense trials. And these narratives are so strengthening, so helpful for the Christian student. And then the second volume, which is a little bit larger, as you'll see, we go into a little bit some other works here. We have Athanasius on the Incarnation, nice, short, concise book on theology describing why Christ became man, why God became man in the person of Christ. And we move on to Thomas à Kempis, The Imitation of Christ. This is a devotional classic from the Middle Ages. And then we move on to John Calvin, The Institutes of the Christian Religion, one of the most important theological works of the Reformation period. And we took little chunks of the Institutes. We didn't put everything in there, but we took little chunks that the student could digest and benefit from. And then, of course, one of the most important books of the English language, The Pilgrim's Progress. That's how we end this series here of classics. I think these are some of the most foundational books to give to our children. And since we haven't done it yet, so many of these books are so unfamiliar and students aren't sure what to do with them, but what we've compiled here with these textbooks is a very simple, easy to understand approach to these books where we have questions, exams, summaries of the meaning of the text. All of these things bring these resources together in a way that's easy to understand and usable. Volume 1 we targeted a little bit lower in terms of age group. We say probably 14 or 15 years old and up. Of course, we'd recommend these books all the way up to adults. Yeah. We'd recommend you read these as a family. But in terms of the assignments and the exams, that's probably about the right age level. And then Volume 2, you go up to 16, 17, 18, so probably the
later part of high school.
Yeah, junior high or senior high.
Let's start with this. This is the core. This is where we start. Be sure your children get this first if you're a Christian. If you're a Muslim, give them Muslim stuff. If you're a humanist, give them humanist stuff. But if you're a Christian, let's start with the Christian classics. Now, if you are a humanist or a Muslim, talk to us later. And we'll tell you why it's important for you to start back with what God said and the revelation that He gave to us.